Hello, it's me, Semin Pegov and the Vargonza project. You probably recognize the person in the frame. Apti Alaudinov, salam alaikum, brother.
Salam alaikum.
Today, unfortunately, we have not the best reason, actually not a good one at all, to start the conversation. And our colleagues have died in 2 days. Anya, a beauty and an amazing war correspondent. And just now, right while we were on our way to meet each other, I read the news. Apti Alaudinov also informed me, I offer my condolences, brother, on the death of Talib, a hero of Russia. I know you were close, and you almost talked to him on the phone just a few hours before, practically on your way to meet him.
No. It's not even that I talked to him. It turns out, well, we got to know each other quite well. When the breakthrough into the Kursk region happened, indeed, he was a very worthy guy. He led the USSR unit, that is the National Guard.
One of the most combat-ready settlements.
Yes, is one of the most capable units in the Kursk region. In the region, during all this time, the National Guard members who were constantly working helped our guys and were always with us. And so it turns out we spent 7 months together, almost 8 months. We were together all the time, and we worked together for so long. And in conversation, I told the Taliban that I said, brother, I said you are worthy of wearing the Ahmad Special Forces order. I said you have it, but this is from months ago. 2 months ago, we had a conversation. I told him that I awarded him the Ahmad Special Forces order. And so it turns out yesterday I drove 2 hours there to give it to him and his guys who really fought themselves. So I awarded the Ahmad Special Forces order to 5 of them, and literally after that he managed to receive it just before his death. It turns out a couple of hours before we met and talked. I said it's as if he really knew, you know. That he approached me about 3 times and he hugged me very warmly. Well, he was indeed saying goodbye to me, you know. He was just glowing. All the guys said he was actually glowing, just glowing like that. So it turns out that he and those 4 guys were awarded the Ahmad Special Forces order. I left from there and came here, and he went on to carry out a service combat mission. He was supposed to check where to place the MLRs. Yes, he went.
He personally, yes, was setting up the artillery there, meaning he was a person, not someone who just sits in the headquarters.
No. He was such a combat guy, as they say, Marat. He was truly one of the most worthy sons of our motherland. Honestly, today I spoke with Vyacheslav Pitkov. He was directly, as they say, the commander here, meaning he was in charge of him. I told him, Slava Aitsemosennu, I extend my condolences to the entire Ossetian people, I said, and to the entire National Guard in connection with the loss of such a worthy son in our ranks. That is one of those who is always on the front line, always with his guys, meaning he lived with his guys. Well, I'll say this. He is truly a hero to be proud of, about whom films should be made, books should be written. Well, what I didn't say, you mentioned journalists. The same thing. That is, people are really giving their lives today in order some to fight against the enemy, others to report the work of our soldiers, showing the true face of our enemy. Both are necessary tasks. There are those who help somewhere in the rear, helping the front as much as they can. These are also people who are participating in our common victory. Well, no matter what you say, the world is woven from losses and, as they say, happy moments. Well, may they all rest in peace, and we can only keep going to the end to finish what we started, so that our enemy trembles.
Listen, well, I wanted to say a few more words about his approach to work. You said that his level of dedication to the cause was limitless. Truly, because he actually gave up his vacation. He was supposed to be at home during this time.
After the release, it turns out, indeed, as I was talking with Vyacheslav, he says, Apti, brother, he says, I told him, that's it, go on vacation, take your family, go, relax. And he says, Commander, I need to, let's first finish the fight, finish it off, then we'll go.
Already finally run out, guess, say, in the region.
I say he's such a lively guy, available 24/7 around the clock. He himself goes to the front, trying to do something there. That is, well, he was a very decent guy. Well, as they say, again, lived as a hero and died as a hero. That's the only thing that can be said. And to their family, his family, one can truly offer condolences, because this is a very big loss for the entire Ossetian people. I can confidently say that it is a very great loss for the entire Ossetian people, as well as for the entire Caucasus and all of Russia.
Listen, yes, we recently exchanged messages too. I was writing a column about the revolution of the spirit and about people who are kindred spirits. Well, I didn't know Talib personally, but I feel from your story that he was indeed a person who was a kindred spirit to you. And surely, I think I would have become friends with him too. In general, regarding the new society that is being created with invisible, some kind of connections, invisible, some kind of threads, our new combative and in some sense truly spiritual brotherhood. We were also driving with you just now discussing that if it is destined by God, no matter how much you try, you can't escape it. But still, in your opinion, assuming that the special military operation will end sooner or later, we hope for this, people who are spiritually close to each other, will they have a chance in peaceful life to transform our state so that the mistakes we made before, and probably even some spiritual mistakes, ignorant mistakes, will remain in the past? So that we can truly start building our future in a new way?
Well, Semyon, is probably like that saying, you don't need to ask a fortune teller. As they say, it's a definite question, because life, it really has changed so much that we can even divide the history of Russia into before and after the special military operation, because before the special military operation, it was a state living with rose-colored glasses on. The people of Russia are wearing rose-colored glasses. People think that they have some problems, everyday pressing issues. Someone couldn't go to Europe because something happened. You know, we are still the kind of people who can endure everything at first, no, hold on to the limit. Then we have some kind of internal revolution, a push. And after that, as they say, we give it to all our enemies, even go to their homes and plant our flag there. And after that, it turns out we start to feel sorry for those enemies whom we just yesterday gave a beating for coming into our home, you understand?
Feeling sorry and forgiving, what's the difference?
Well, I'll say this. Feeling sorry and forgiving, we are still human. And we have retained this human component. No matter what happens, we see how our enemies treat our soldiers cruelly. We see how they mock them. We see how they mock our civilians. And what do? I still give the command. Capture as many as possible, do not kill. Why do we act this way? I always say, to forgive, if you are not a truly religious person, you will never be able to forgive your enemy in your life. Well, it would be insincere. And it would be insincere. We can forgive our enemies. Why? Because we truly believe in God. Because we know that God says, I forgive. And who are you not to forgive if I forgive? And to feel sorry, let's look at this from another perspective now. Every day we see on internet resources these manhunters in Ukraine who catch them all like dogs. It says, a man, they catch them, beat them, and forcibly send them to the front. And we relate to all this more, but not of our own will. They are forced to go. They have family members at home who are facing a dilemma. Whether by force or not, their loved ones have been sent to the front. They have children, wives, mothers. Yes, we have them too. But at the same time, today no one is forcibly sent to the front here. No one is forced to die for someone they don't want to. In other words, if you want to go, you go. If you don't want to, you don't go. We have a stream of volunteers wanting to go to the front. They go to the front voluntarily. Yes, they come to the recruitment office and sign contracts. Most of your units are made up mostly of volunteers, and that's entirely the case. Volunteers who came to the front of their own free will, as they say, of their own free will. Yes, and it turns out that as people, since we are truly people who believe in God, we still feel sorry for even our enemies. Where we could look through the scope and pull the trigger, we say, no, not killing him. If you can take them alive as prisoners, do so, because why do we need this? They still have to come home someday and tell their families the difference between us.
They will tell this whether they want to or not. It's inevitable. It's not really about voluntarily or involuntarily. I also heard this opinion specifically from the assault troops. Yes, the guys who are right at the forefront of the attack, all these trendy mercenaries, those guys from all these Azov banned terrorist organizations, they particularly don't fight with dedication in the sense that they are not ready to stay in the trench until the end. When they feel that we have already pressured them, when we are nearby, they treat themselves very carefully, very cautiously, and immediately pull back. But those who are grabbed from the streets, there are men aged 40, 50 or older who also have Russian blood. Perhaps in some sense they have a Soviet upbringing. There they are, despite everything, sometimes fighting to the last, ready not to retreat with just one machine gun standing until the end. Although it seems they are not driven by this idea, unlike those, let's say, truly, well, it's a bit of a harsh word I want to say, beasts, yes, influenced by this ideology. They are not like that, but nevertheless it's as if something in them I don't know. Some kind of character awakens. That's why sometimes it's really hard to get through, not so much because of these flashy, dressed up fashionistas, but because of these simple guys.
Well, you know, Semyon, look here. These guys, as we say, are indeed ordinary, simple men, peasants, laborers who were caught and sent to the front. What is their situation? Behind them are exactly those fashionistas you're talking about. They are behind them. These are their blocking detachments. They shoot them in the back, they execute them for retreating. They execute them for not wanting to fight with us. That is, they intimidate them so much, as they say. Cornered them, in other words, right? And a person who is cornered is forced to fight, knowing that if he retreats, as they say, he will immediately get a bullet in the back. So he realizes and understands this. That's the dilemma. And we end up catching and killing them. Behind them sit their enemies, who supposedly hide under various nationalist, as they say, ideas, killing them with their slogans. And so they are forced. They stand there somewhere to the death. Indeed, one more thing needs to be noted. No matter what anyone says, Ukrainians are very close to us in spirit.
Close in spirit, in what sense?
They are still our blood. That is,
No matter how you spin it, right?
yes, more.
It's just that somewhere there's an attempt to reprogram, but still, in an extreme situation. My true manifestation?
Exactly right, yes. And among them, there are those who are truly complete fascists. You start digging, and you mostly understand that the majority of the facts of murders, rapes, these tortures that occurred, for the most part, were committed by whom? Foreigners who were in Ukrainian formations, and precisely those who, as they say, are mentally unstable, specifically nationalist formations. These are people of such a completely depraved character, you see. This is filth. These are Satanists. These same people, it turns out, are in the same army, under the same flags. The only thing that surprises me, of course, is that they still do not rise up and go, as they say, against Zelensky, against his power. They do not go to fight. That's what, of course, surprises me.
Perhaps that moment is not so far off, by the way.
Well, I think so too. I am more than ever convinced that they will soon rise up and go to overthrow this leadership themselves, and say so. All right, let's get out of here. And further, as they say, whether we like it or not, we have to be neighbors, live together. Well, I understand that this is also, you see, like Western support, that they are backing them up again with bayonets. This is the Ukrainian leadership. It all leads to the fact that probably they still haven't gone, as they say, with pitchforks or shovels, bayonets, as they say, to stick it all into this leadership of Ukraine.
A little remark, there's a siren ringing here, you can hear rockets flying in the air, but Apti Alaudinov didn't flinch a muscle in his eyes or on his face, so I'll continue to question him a bit more. God is with us, we truly have nothing to fear. Brother, still a bit about the Kursk region, about the situation. I just read the news about Gogolevka, which we have already liberated, and there are basically 3 more settlements that we need to liberate, so to speak, so that the enemy no longer controls a single village on our territory. And then to clear the forests. What is the situation here? And I don't know how appropriate it would be from my side. You are not only working in the Kursk region. As I understand, there are certain threats and attempts by the Nazis to penetrate into Belgorod. If you could enlighten our subscribers about the situation, well...
So the situation there is already at the end, it turns out, right on the edge of the Kursk region and just on the border with Ukraine. It is looking very bleak for the enemy. Indeed, our units of the Russian Ministry of Defense are fighting very honorably, as they say. They are driving the enemy out of there. In some places, the enemy is already caught in a pincer. In others, as they say, they are in a very uncomfortable situation. Strategically, for themselves it turns out, but still they cling with all their fibers and trying to hold that section. And of course to prevent us from following him. In the Sumy region he tried, as they say, to throw whatever forces he had, reserves at the junction Belgorod.
To somehow divert part of our forces from creating that sanitary zone, the part that the president talked about, which we are striving for. Exactly right. An attempt to disrupt our plans.
This of course will not help him at all because, well, we have freed up quite significant forces, means and resources. And here, as they say, we, specifically Akhmat, the Akhmat Special Forces, have also moved to this section as well. Here is the border of the Kursk and Belgorod regions, this junction. Right now we are engaged in driving out and destroying the enemy. Well, every day they try to bring in some forces to throw them in. Every day we end up destroying them in batches along with other units that are there. But the fact of the matter is that Zelensky, on one hand, you hear how he squeals like a woman. In principle, even saying woman, the girls might get offended. Girls, please don't be offended. We have a good attitude towards you. This expired one, he is neither this nor that. It's an it. That's why it's the it that's squealing. On one hand, as always, he shouts that the Russians are so scary. Oh, if you don't help me now, they'll get you too. In other words, by this, he shows that he is afraid of us.
On the other hand, later, when he jumps out from there, sniffs around and returns, he starts shouting about how he's a great warrior and that he can defeat Russia.
You look at what's happening and you really come to understand that he's not right in the head. That's for sure. Because someone so versatile, as they say, cannot physically talk about the same thing. One person, a healthy one. Yes, a healthy one especially. Well, a complete drug addict like him, he can. But any normal person would have some logical sequence to what they are saying. So with this one, no logical sequence is formed. One day you wake up, you see this and that, he says. The second day, this and that. So you start to wonder if it's actually 10 different people with 10 different masks, or if it's still one person speaking. No matter what you say, perhaps the world has indeed gone mad. Do you know what's the scariest part? It's indeed that there are certain leaders of European countries who are so very rapidly pushing their countries into the arms of real nuclear war and total madness that you watch and are amazed. They are really all like that. See, they pick them all the same.
By the way, I have this feeling they seem close to each other, but not in spirit, in some kind of anti-spirit perhaps.
No. Look, if you look at all these leaders of the states that have been fighting against us through Ukraine, you'll see they are all children of former high-ranking Nazi officials. That is, they are the grandchildren, great-grandchildren of these high-ranking officials of Nazi Germany. So, it turns out that the Hydra, whose head we didn't cut off back then, dispersed somewhere, and their children emerged. Then, all driven by a single idea to take revenge on Russia, they emerged from everywhere. And they united to truly take revenge on us for their past defeat. Well, in principle, this is nothing new for us, because the entire history of Russia is cyclical. And no matter how many times we look, in every period, every war that was against Russia, we see that a united Europe always fought against us. Always. So it turns out nothing new again. Europe has united once more to get hit on the nose again. That's it. Once again it will get hit on the nose, and once again it will lose. And shamelessly once again they will say that those who remain will claim they are not to blame. It was done by someone over there, or this one. That's the essence. So in reality we need to maintain our spirit, the vigor of our spirit. Why? Because Russia cannot be defeated. They cannot defeat Russia. Why? Because God loves Russia. If God is with us, who can be against us? And it doesn't matter what these nations are called. It doesn't matter what these states are called. We must understand that we are a victorious people. And indeed,
I completely agree with you. I am also convinced that despite any global situations, our victory is close, one way or another. Yes, indeed, we suffer great wounds to the heart. When such great men, heroes, leave us, when we lose our fellow professionals, it is always, of course, painful. But to be honest, I also look forward with optimism. We have no choice, no fear either, and don't hope for anything but moving forward to victory. Thanks about the Tayarochka. Today I will distract, but we have a siren somehow here in the forest.
In short, there weren't just sirens, there were all sorts of noises, but we are already used to it. So for us, it's already like, if it's ours, it won't miss us. And if it's not ours, then let it fly by, let it fly.